Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So a couple of weeks ago, I told you the Aston Martin was sold. Yeah, I was wrong. Really wrong. Oh, hey guys. Before I get into the stories and while I wash the Jeep, do me a favor. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe down below. And one last thing, hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out the video and gets me around to more people who maybe wouldn't have a chance to see it. So guys, like most things, in the past, you really didn't have to worry about scammers or fraud too much when selling your car, right? You just put a sign on your car, parked it on a corner, and you had to deal with lowball offers. But for the most part, as long as you weren't crazy and taking a personal check, people paid you with cash. Or you got a bank check and went there and drew it on the bank and you were good. Now, we all sell our cars online. And like most thing online, here come the scammers, the fraud artists, the people who are there to sucker you out of money or your possessions, or both. So let's go back a little bit and I'll walk you through the two separate scenarios that fraud artists tried to get money out of me. I think their outcome was money. They may have actually wanted the car. That was never going to happen. So I say this every time I film in the garage. You guys, please, you have to excuse the giant mess in this garage. I went from a 6-car garage to a very tiny 2-car. And well, I just don't have the room I used to have, and I'm struggling to find places to store all this stuff. But we'll get it there. We will. So guys, the one thing I do want to remind you of is I used to work in the banking industry. So the reality is I have seen just about every fraud possibility out there. And so my spidey senses, or those little things in the back of your mind, your gut feelings, they're always alert when I'm selling stuff or dealing with people. A lot of people call me jaded, and they're probably not wrong. But in scenarios like this, well, it helped me out. So the first guy talked a great game. He asked a lot of questions about the car, its condition, and made it really seem like he was legit. Now, I did miss 2 questions, or shall I say, he didn't ask 2 questions that just made me pause. One, he never asked about title. So he didn't ask if I actually owned the car outright, how that would happen, or anything along those lines. And he barely touched on the service history of the car. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if I'm buying a 15-year-old Aston Martin, I promise you I'm asking a lot about what services have been done on the car. But like most people selling a car, I wanted him to be real. So I kept discounting those in my mind, thinking, nope, everything's good. He was based out of Texas. He was talking about having the car shipped from the house, and we would do all of that once the funds clear. Red flag number 2. The questions bugged me, and now he's just willing to send me money and wait until they clear to take possession of the car. He never asked again about title. Never wanted to know when title was coming. Just, I'm going to send you money, and I know you're good for it, and then we'll get the car. A little weird. Okay, so here comes the biggest red flag of the bunch. The check arrives. Yes, he sent me a check. Now, I told him very adamantly I would not release the car until funds were cleared if he's sending me a check, and I prefer a bank check. Did I get a bank check? I did not. I got a business check on a business in Southern California. So he's in Texas, and the check comes from a business in Southern California. Where he screwed up even more was he gave me a tracking number. And when I looked it up, the check left from Pennsylvania. So, check comes from Pennsylvania, he says he's from Texas, drawn on a business out of California. Yeah, that doesn't smell right. So immediately I walk into the bank it is drawn on, I walk up to the teller, and I basically tell the teller, I'm selling a car, I think I'm being frauded, I don't think this check is real. I slide the check over, and she looks at me and says, it is absolutely not. This account has tons of fraud flags all over it. Do you mind if I take a photocopy of it and I'll call you if it happens to be real? Obviously, she never called. Check was fake the whole way through. This guy actually has the audacity to continue to text me for 3 or 4 days until I finally just point blank ask him what he actually thinks he's going to get out of this, that I know it's fraud. Like, what's your possible end game? Do you actually think I'm going to fall for any of this? Needless to say, he never responded. Okay guys, so if one wasn't enough, now we've got number 2. Now the first one came from the listing on AutoTrader. This next one came from my listing on eBay. Now I listed it on 3 or 4 different sites, just trying to maximize my coverage of people who would see the car and potential buyers. So now this one was a better story. This person sucked me in from the moment it started. I'm going to give you the story exactly as it was presented to me. So she was buying the car for her 60-year-old husband. It was his 60th birthday, and he had always been a James Bond fan, and the Aston Martin was his dream car. Now, she couldn't afford to buy him a new one, but she could afford to buy him this one. It was a great story. Guys, it sucked me in from the moment it started. She asked all the qualifying questions. And the cool thing was, she wasn't the normal car buyer. He was. And she was trying to surprise him. What it did was it threw all my normal senses of she's not asking the right questions on this car out the window. I actually started explaining things to her about buying the car and how we would do it and how we would make things happen. Big sucker. Red flag I'm getting this entire process is she keeps disappearing for a couple of days. She'll text me for a few, ask a bunch of questions, we're in the middle of a conversation, all of a sudden she's gone. And a couple days goes by and she jumps right back in as though the conversation never ended and just says she had to work. Not a real red flag. I mean, obviously, if she's buying that car, she does have a job, I would imagine. So, it's one of those where I'm discounting it, but it just felt weird. The next red flag was something that didn't set off initially. I didn't really catch it. I was involved in the moment of this nice story that she's buying this car for her husband. But it started to trigger as we got closer and closer to actually buying the car. And that was, she never spoke about shipping the car. Not once. She never bought a car. So was she planning on flying out to get it? Or did she have no plans? How was she going to get the car? Just felt weird. She was based out of Colorado, by the way. So obviously, having just experienced one fraud from the AutoTrader listing, I'm getting a little sketchy as this is continuing to go. Like I said, I was really involved in the story, but we're about to close the deal and she hasn't mentioned how she's actually going to pick the car up. So I finally go ahead and ask, how do you plan on picking it up or shipping? And I even threw out, again, because I was somewhat emotionally involved in this story, I even threw out how they shipped the Tesla when I sold that, or how I shipped the Aston when I first bought it. That way she could make arrangements. Then came time to pay. Now, the reason I like eBay to sell is because eBay has a protection for both the buyer and the seller of up to $100,000. So if there is fraud, you're good. And I mentioned that. I said, well, the easiest way for us to do this is just to purchase it through eBay. Then if either one of us feels uncomfortable, we're covered. I get the money electronically, all good on my end. She gets proof of the vehicle and title, all good on her end. And we're covered in case one of us somehow figures a way out to manipulate the eBay system. And she digs it. She's like, cool, I like that. Everything's good. She hits me up the next day. Hey, do you have a PayPal account? I said, yeah, I do. It's actually linked to the eBay one. My reception isn't great. And I'm not sure I can get on the eBay website to pay. And I was like, all right, well, that's weird. So you can get on your PayPal account, but you can't get on the eBay site? Felt kind of wonky. But then she asks me for a video of the car starting, something she hadn't asked before. Just enough to suck me back into the story. She wanted to verify the car actually ran. So I sent her a short walk around video of it starting up. Obviously no check engine lights, no anything like that. I sent it off. And I said, no worry on the timing. When you have good reception, just do it through eBay. She hits me up again. Why don't you just give me your PayPal account directly and I'll send you the money? Now, I'm like you guys. I probably sat in the back of my mind and thought, how can you fraud somebody through PayPal? Well, a couple of Google searches and you'll figure out how quick fraud can happen on PayPal. So I basically reply back, hey, I recently had somebody attempt to fraud me on this vehicle already. I'd prefer if we're both covered and you just do the eBay when you have good reception. Needless to say, I never heard from her again, if it was a her. So guys, all in all, the car has been listed for nearly a month and it's still here. I thought I sold it twice and I haven't sold it yet. And as I told you guys, I was going to try and go that route for about a month. And that's where we're at. We're about a month. So the car, well, now it's going on to Doug's site and it's going on Cars and Bids. It's a little more safe, less ways to fraud. You have to prove you're an actual buyer before you even make a bid. So in 7 days, once the auction goes live, it should go live here in the next few days, the Aston should be sold. And guys, I guess this video is really just to say that if you're selling a car, make sure you've got all your senses high. Because there's a lot of scammers out there trying to get money, trying to get your car, or trying to get both. And if you're worried about it, maybe bring a trailer or Cars and Bids is the route to go. Will you get full retail? Honestly, probably not. You'll get a little bit under. But it's a safer, it's easier, it's fast. And at the end of the day, you're selling the car so you can move on to something better. Guys, washing the Jeep is seriously an exercise. There are so many nooks and crannies and little things on the Jeep that you've got to get in there. It takes forever. I swear I could wash the McLaren twice before I finish washing that once. And Josh, if you're watching, your job is safe, man. I don't plan on washing my cars all the time. So guys, there you have it. How they attempted to fraud me twice on selling this car. So again, it will be up on Cars and Bids possibly within the next day, most likely on Monday. If you guys are interested in the car, honestly, this car is pretty amazing. It is a great Grand Tour car. It's gonna put a lot of miles in comfort, sound amazing with a lot of power in that big V12. It's just time for me to move on to something else. But if you're interested, go there, bid often, bid a lot, and take this home. You won't be disappointed, I promise. This car is about as sorted of an Aston as, well, as I've seen. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked today's video. If you did, please smash the thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe down below. See you guys in the next video. Peace.